Oh, hello there! It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm sure some of you wondered if you'd ever hear me again. Oh, Disney, things haven't exactly been plain sailing for you recently, have they? But fear not, because in a time where fans seem to be literally crying out for original ideas, the House of Mouse has literally said, no, I don't think we'll do that. Yes, that's right, this list is absolutely stuffed to the brim with sequels, prequels, and franchises. Honestly, I think it's less about Disney being lazy or uncreative, and more about them being risk adverse, hoping they can rely on recognisable properties to turn around their recent luck at the box office. So before we begin counting down all those animated epics on their way, let's do a little bit of house cleaning. This list is solely for Disney and Pixar movies, so we aren't going to be covering blue sky properties like Ice Age 7 or Rio 3. We are also only covering movies on this list, so no Tiana series, Monsters at Work Season 2, Win or Lose, and no Finding Nemo show. We are also only focusing on movies that have the most evidence that are actually happening, so while long rumoured, we're not covering the Kingdom Hearts adaptation here either. Okay, is everything sorted? Good. I'm Connor for SLUURP, and this is every single upcoming animated Disney movie. Inside Out 2. Okay, let's get the one you probably know the most about out of the way first. I say that because Inside Out 2 is the closest to released and thus has already had a number of trailers hit the internet. In Inside Out 2, Riley turns 13 and headquarters undergoes a sudden demolition to make room for new emotions. Something the OG crew wasn't prepared for. Joy and the gang aren't sure how to feel about Anxiety joining the crew, but they can't possibly imagine a full house with other new emotions: embarrassment, ennui, and envy. Starting this list off with Inside Out 2 is rather fitting, as it sets a tone for things to come for Disney and Pixar in the next decade. And by that I mean sequels, sequels, and more sequels. Moana 2. Out of every entry on this list, this has to be the one I'm most concerned about. But before we get to why, let's glaze Moana up a little bit. Released in 2016, the original movie made a strong $687 million worldwide. But more impressively perhaps, the animated movie's success on streaming. Since hitting Disney+, Moana has continually dominated worldwide streaming charts for years now. In fact, the 2024 report highlighted that Moana had been watched for approximately 152,200 years in total. This is obviously a juggernaut for Disney, and with recent updates to Disney parks and a live-action remake in development, Disney is definitely big in the Moana business. But it wasn't just live-action remakes and theme park attractions. We were also supposed to get a Moana streaming series. But much like Maui himself, this series has shapeshifted into something completely different, which has me worried. Rumour on the street is that months ago, Disney execs got a look at the nearly finished episodes of the long-developed Moana series and soon hatched a plan to combine these episodes into a single theatrical movie. Many online have already compared this to similar situations like Atlantis Milo's Return or the Clone Wars movie. You know, how they basically just meshed together 4 episodes of the show into a movie, and it was kinda a total disaster. The recent news that the Moana voice actor is returning for the sequel had me scratching my head even more. I mean, this just seems something that would be a given, right? The fact that they needed to report this confirms this movie was definitely supposed to be direct to streaming, with nobody returning, and then Disney panicked because of the recent flops. Moana 2 is also in development without the help of the legendary Lin-Manuel Miranda, whose fingerprints are all over the original. Again, it's kind of hard to even imagine the world of Moana without Lin's involvement. Look, there's a chance this turns out well. After all, Toy Story 2 was set to be a direct-to-video movie at first, but at the moment, I'm not filled with confidence. Elio. In an alternate timeline, we would have already seen this movie. After all, we got a teaser trailer that revealed that the movie would be released on March 1st, 2024. However, the next movie from Pixar was pushed back to summer 2025 due to the SAG strike. In a list absolutely dominated by franchises and sequels, Elio stands as a unique original concept. Elio finds himself in space amongst aliens and cosmic beings, all of whom find his human form, which is alien to them, fascinating. They also believe the young boy is Earth's official ambassador. Much like Disney proper, Pixar has struggled to produce a real runaway hit at the box office. Is Elio the movie to get Pixar back on track? I don't know about that. I feel like I'm still waiting for a new Pixar movie to have one of those classic concepts that sold itself. You know, like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Ratatouille, Inside Out, etc. We've seen very little, but a child who has difficulty fitting in and becoming Earth's ambassador to aliens seems to be missing that Pixar flair. It sounds a little bit more like a mid-tier DreamWorks movie. I'd love for this movie to surprise me, but I also feel I can write all the he starts terrified of aliens around him and under pressure to represent all of Earth, but in the end, with the help of his friends he has made, believes in himself and saves the day. Story beats in my head. Pixar movies used to feel like events. Now they kind of feel like any other animated movie coming out. But with this one, I hope I'm wrong. Zootopia 2. Man, I love Zootopia. It's not just one of my favourite movies of Disney's revival era, but also the entire House of Mouse catalogue. Released in 2016, the movie came out during a period where Disney kind of felt untouchable. They were untouchable at the box office, and earning over $1 billion, Zootopia became the highest grossing non-James Cameron original concept film of all time. At the time, a big deal was made about how this was a win for original ideas, and now, as many are crying out for original movies from Disney in particular, it's somewhat ironic that the movie that proved original ideas work is coming back for a sequel. But honestly, I can't hate because I am so excited for it. While we may want more original ideas, there are some films you can look at and feel they're just crying out for a sequel. Given how rich the world building and storytelling was in the original, I'm just so eager to see more of Zootopia and its inhabitants. I mean, there is so much to play with that was left out of the original. What does marine life look like? Where are all the reptiles? And on that note, where the hell are the birds? If you want to see a Zootopia sequel idea based around a secret nation of birds, then why don't you check out our concept trailer for Zootopia 2? We'll have a link to that in the description. What got me even more excited was when movie insider and pundit Grace Randolph revealed the first test screenings for Zootopia 2 were received as the best first screenings ever for Disney animation. I mean, that is a pretty massive endorsement, but given how good the first movie is, and how much of the world is left open for a sequel, I tend to believe it. Set for a November 2025 release, it'll be a while before we see anything official for the sequel. Frozen 3. Frozen as a franchise is in kind of a unique position in the sense that it has become so wildly successful that it almost feels like its own separate property at this point. It's a juggernaut, an institution in and of itself, and honestly, they'll probably still be milking, adapting the Frozen IP long after we are all happily dead and buried. So on that cheery note, we have known for quite a while that a third Frozen entry is in the works, but it's only recently that we have been given hints at the pure magnitude of the prequel. Chief Creative Officer at Disney Animation and Frozen 1 and 2 director Jennifer Lee has said her team is hard at work on the prequel, and she is deeply excited about the story they are shaping together, calling it so epic that it might not fit into just one film. That's right, we are also getting Frozen 4. In November of 2023, Bob Iger sat down or stood up with Good Morning America and revealed that Frozen 4 was also being worked on. Given the fact the CCO Jennifer Lee stated the story is so epic it might not fit into just one film, I feel like the bookies' odds would be on the third film being a two-parter. leaving the audience with some kind of twist or cliffhanger at the end of the first part, and then bringing us all back to theatres a year or so later for the finale to the story. Well, until they eventually make Frozen 5, and Frozen 6, and Frozen 7, and Frozen 8,
75 years later,
and Frozen 1032, Sven Strikes Back, and Frozen 1033, Return of Olaf. Yes, ultimately Frozen is here to stay. Whatever Frozen 3 ends up looking like, two-parter or not, it's currently scheduled for a November 2026 release date. Ducks. Hey, look, a title you may not recognise. Yes, an original movie. What a novel concept. This is one of the latest to be revealed, and while not officially slated by the House of Mouse, many insiders have reported that Pixar, with an emphasis on Pixar, is developing their first ever musical, currently under the working title Ducks. It's a shame this one didn't come out earlier, as we could have had a Ants Bugs Life rematch with Ducks and Migration. It's somewhat surprising that although we've had movies like Soul and Coco, which are filled with musical elements and sequences, Pixar have never delivered a fully Broadway-esque musical. Very little was known about this one, although we do have a rumoured plot leak. I must stress this has to be taken with a large grain of salt. It reads, a diverse group of ducks navigating the complexities of life in their lake home, facing challenges, discovering unexpected friendships, and most of all, finding their voice through music. I'm sure the use of the word diverse is going to trigger every neck-bearded nonce online, which also kind of makes me think this could be rage bait, but I don't know. The plot is kind of vague enough it could be true, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. While many of us would have been hoping that Pixar would have given us a full musical adaptation of Put That Thing Back Where It Came From also helped me, I guess an original Pixar musical about ducks could also be pretty cool. Cars 4. And after spending some time on an actual original project coming from the House of Mouse, we're straight back to sequel territory. This one hasn't been confirmed officially either by Disney or Pixar, but the likelihood of it happening looks pretty concrete. Given what a juggernaut Cars is for Pixar, it was only a matter of time until we heard more about entries in the Cars universe. It was actually the creative director for franchise, Jay Ward, who lifted the bonnet on the future of this IP, stating there are many more Cars things brewing. He stated he couldn't say much more, but Cars has got a life that will keep on going. He went on to say that he's working on some really fun projects that we will see in a couple of years. This kind of sounds like we have more in store than just theatrical movie sequels. Expect more streaming shows, theme park expansions, video games, and spin-offs galore, as this franchise is a highway, and Pixar is going to be sure to ride it all night long. Oh god, someone stop me. Toy Story 5. I put this one at the very end of the list because I can't quite believe we're getting a fifth Toy Story movie. I mean, surely sequels like Incredibles 3, Monsters Inc. 2 and Finding Marlin would take priority, right? But then again, that might be a silly sentiment, as this is a franchise that has grossed $3.3 billion at the box office. And then you've got to think about all the toys, games and theme park attractions it spawned. I mean, simply put, Toy Story is Pixar's Mickey Mouse. It's not a franchise that they're going to just let rest. So at this point, many of you are probably thinking, how the hell are they going to do another Toy Story movie? I mean, didn't they kind of end it perfectly? Twice? Yeah, you're not wrong, but apparently if rumours are to be believed, the creative team at Pixar have cooked up a plot that revolves around the return of Andy. So a lot of people online weren't thrilled about this, seemingly feeling it would negate the ending of Toy Story 3, and I mean, they aren't wrong, but at the same time, you know, we're all gonna end up in the movie theatres sobbing at whatever Pixar pieces together. Toy Story 5 is scheduled for a 2026 release, which will no doubt be a mammoth year for Disney, as Frozen 3 is also scheduled to release that year. These are arguably the two biggest franchises from each animation house, so it's going to be extremely interesting to see how they perform upon release. But until then, that's our list. Which upcoming Disney animated movie on this list are you most excited about? Leave a comment below and let us know. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. We've got some really great countdown lists in the pipeline just like this one that you're not going to want to miss. I've been Connor for SLUURP, and I'll see ya in the next one.